So this time we pick up where we left off. You know how on a cellular level the heart depolarizes. So let's talk about what order in which it does that and how this whole thing comes together to be a heartbeat. So right to begin with, when an impulse is generated and getting ready to be sent, this happens at the sinoatrial node. This is at the apex of the heart. It's at the top of the heart, located just above the right atrium. And this impulse is generated and it's sent down the conduction pathways down through the heart, causing the atria to contract. Both atria will contract. There is, of course, the intranodal pathways that run through the right atrium, and then there is a pathway that kind of comes off the left-hand side of the SA node and runs down and terminates in what's called Bachmann's loop, which is a little group of fibers that causes the left atrium to depolarize and contract. Now from there, as things fly through the internodal pathways, which is a fancy way of saying we are putting wires through the right atrium to get down to the AV node, it goes through the internodal pathways and down to the AV node. And something specific happens here, something that's actually very important to cardiac anatomy and to your understanding of dysrhythmias. The AV node takes a break. It tells the impulse to slow down. It does this on purpose, okay? That's important for you to understand. The AV node hangs on to that message for a second before sending it out, and for a very simple physiologic reason. It has to give the atria time to empty into the ventricles. So as you know, we talked a little bit before about how the atria's job was to provide a kick to stretch the left ventricles even more than they were by the innate pressure of the heart, causing that muscle to expand a little more. And then of course, if you stretch it more, it contracts harder, Starling's law, so that you get better perfusion, right? You get better blood pressure, you get better all around work from the heart. So the AV node's job is to hang on to that signal, to hang on to that message until the ventricles are finished emptying. Now, how long should that take? It shouldn't take any longer than 1/5 of a second. 1/5 of a second is about the maximum amount of time that the AV node should hang on to this unless something else is wrong. So how long is 1/5 of a second? Well, if you've been reading any of your EKG stuff, you know that 0.20 seconds is one of the places on the EKG where we say, okay, that becomes the first degree heart block. If you remember, the PR interval, right, should last from about 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, or the common quote 12 to 20 end quote that you hear. So 0.12 to 0.20 seconds is normal PR interval. Anything beyond that, we say that there's a first degree AV block. Now, if I'm getting over your head, don't worry, I'm going to rein it back in. Or if you've already been looking at this, I hope maybe that gives you sort of a better understanding of it. So from there, what's going to happen is it moves from the AV junction after its short break in transit. You can think of it like a layover. So after its layover, it moves into what's called the bundle of His. This is a large bundle of fibers that is just inferior to the AV node itself. And then from there, the signal is going to split, and it's going to split into the left and right bundle branches. The left and right bundle branches run down their respective ventricles and then terminate in what's called the Purkinje fibers. Now, there's a stop along the way there called the fascicles, and we're going to talk about those just briefly. When it goes down the right bundle branch, it goes into one fascicle, and that one fascicle terminates in the Purkinje fibers, and that's enough to depolarize all of the right ventricle because there's not much muscle over there. It's no big deal. On the left, however, there's a lot more muscle because we need a lot more pump to come out of that to perfuse the whole body. So it actually will go down the left bundle branch into the left anterior fascicle and the left posterior fascicle, both of which will terminate into Purkinje fibers. And it needs both of those fascicles because there's more muscle there. And we can identify each of those fascicles on the electrocardiogram, on the ECG, when they are blocked and when something's wrong with it. So kind of tuck that away in your mind for later. But just as a quick recap, things go from the SA node down the internodal pathways to the AV node, where they take a short break before being sent to the bundle of His. It is from there sent to the right and left bundle branches, which go through their respective fascicles and terminate in the Purkinje fibers themselves. And that is the entirety of the cardiac conduction system. The rest of the conduction that happens in the heart happens from cell to cell to cell after the signal has come off that initial conduction center.